from the National Service of the Liberia Broadcasting System. This is Newsline, an hour package of major local and international developments about Liberia and the rest of our global village. Today is November 20, 2025. I'm Edward Tama presenting. These are the top stories we're following. President Joseph Numa Boakai pledges Liberia's commitment to combating money laundering and terrorist financing. The National AIDS Commission says over 36,000 persons are living with HIV and AIDS in Liberia. The government begins drafting the country's 2024 annual economic review. And away from home, Nigerian authorities shut down schools for fear of armed attacks. Also coming up are the news in French, simple English, and sports are our package. But first, Frederick Tuwia sets the basis with the bulletin.
President Joseph Boakai has recommitted Liberia to fully combating money laundering and terrorist financing in the region. President Boakai said such commitment is rooted in the desire to safeguard the integrity of Liberia's financial system and uphold the principles of transparency and accountability. To ensure this commitment is actualized, the Liberian leader said government has begun strengthening its legal and institutional frameworks to align with international best practices. President Boakai spoke at the opening session of the 44th Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa technical meeting in Mangibi County Thursday. President Boakai described money laundering and all financial related crimes as on a minor of both regional and national security, emphasizing enhanced collaboration with member countries to holistically curtail aid. Over 36,000 persons in Liberia are living with HIV and AIDS. The new statistics were released on Thursday by National AIDS Commission, quoting UNAIDS Spectrum 2025 estimate. HIV is a virus that attacks the body's immune system and can lead to AIDS if there is no treatment. National AIDS Commission NAC chairperson Dr. Cecilia Nunta disclosed that out of that number, about 31,000 persons have been tested and are aware of their status. Addressing a news conference Thursday, Dr. Nunta noted that out of the 31,000 persons tested, 30,798 persons are on treatment. The NAC force highlighted that currently 95% of those on treatment are virally suppressed. She called for collective efforts to address challenges undermining Liberia's HIV response, especially stigma, discrimination, and inadequate domestic financing. Meanwhile, Dr. Cecilia Nunta has outlined a series of activities leading to the observance of World AIDS Day on December 1. She underscored mass media campaigns, youth dialogues, and community outreach programs as key events to be undertaken in preparation for the day. Dr. Nunta named President Joseph Boakai as keynote speaker at this year's event, which will bring together several government ministries, agencies, commissions, and development partners. World AIDS Day raises awareness about the global HIV/AIDS epidemic, supports people living with HIV, and commemorates those who have died from HIV and AIDS-related illnesses. The 2025 global theme is Overcoming Disruption, Transforming the AIDS Response, with Liberia's national theme, Mobilizing Domestic Support, Transforming the AIDS Response. The Liberian government says it has begun drafting the country's 2024 annual economic review in Kantanima County. The move seeks to assess the country's economic performance, highlighting key areas, including agriculture, infrastructure, energy, and health, among others. Assistant Finance Minister for Macroeconomic Policy, Henry Yankwe, told the Super Morning Show Thursday that a document, when drafted, will be presented to stakeholders for inputs.
Actual position of our country because we are much closer to our situation in our economy. And have some real information what happening in Liberia and somebody said somewhere at now.
According to Minister Yankwe, following the inputs of stakeholders, the instrument will be validated, setting for the implementation of the document. Meanwhile, the ongoing drafting of the 2024 Annual Economic Review is bringing together participants from government line ministries. Government has termed the recent statement about the Opposition Congress for Democratic Change (CDC) that the 2026 national budget is misleading and without a legal foundation as false and misleading. The CDC said the 2026 budget is based on unrealistic revenue assumptions and unsubstantiated. In the CDC statement, the party is requesting the executive to withdraw the budget from the legislature. An executive marshal release said it is the constitutional responsibility of the legislature to review revenue projections, modify allocations, and enact appropriations that reflect national priorities. The release noted that the General Auditing Commission reports show that the CDC government engaged in unauthorized and unconstitutional borrowing, leaving behind irregular debts and repayment arrangements that violated established financial protocol procedures. According to the release, the current administration has restored order and legality to public financial management by engaging in lawful debt obligations, ending illicit borrowing practices, and rebuilding fiscal space to support essential public investments. It also noted that the AML signature bonus and proceeds from ongoing asset recovery efforts follow long-standing precedent and is supported by active negotiations and operational recovery initiatives. The European Union has commended government recognizing the transformative impact of the EU-funded Youth Rising Liberia program. According to the European Union, the Liberian government has committed to expanding technical and vocational education nationwide. Recently, on the Super Morning Show, Finance Minister Augustine Kafwa disclosed that under the Youth Rising project, each county would benefit a technical and vocational institution. Minister Kafwan said the program underscored Liberia's vision to make quality skills training accessible to young people across the country. In a statement issued Thursday, the EU noted that the program is supported by major EU investment of 32 million euros for private sector program from 2018 to 2026 and 28 million euros for Youth Rising Phase 2 from 2023 to 2029. It said the Youth Rising program is already delivering strong results as TVET centers in 6 counties have been upgraded and equipped. Over 100 TVET instructors have received advanced training in Kenya, Zambia, Ghana, and South Africa, and 170 teachers completing pedagogical training at the new TVET Center for Professional Training, Research, and Innovation at BWR. The European Union reaffirmed its commitment to working closely with the Liberian government to equipping young people with practical employable skills and creating pathways to decent jobs. The Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, the LDA, has concluded a one-day policy review and validation meeting to examine and validate key policy instruments. The session brought together senior management, technical experts, security stakeholders, civil society representatives, and development partners. The meeting provided an opportunity to refine operational guidelines, align policy directions with emerging national and global standards. During the session, participants engaged in in-depth discussions on critical areas including enforcement protocols, interagency cooperation, community engagement, among other approaches to combat illicit drug activities. The LDA said constructive feedback gathered at the meeting will be incorporated into the final policy documents that will guide the entity's operation for the coming years. The Education Ministry has launched its Science Kit Lab in a Box initiative, a groundbreaking program designed to transform science learning across Liberia. The launch took place on Thursday at the Pinzio Community School PCS in Pinzio, bringing together distinguished officials, partners, educators, parents, and students. The initiative is considered a major step in addressing the scarcity of science resources in schools and ensuring that every child, regardless of location, have access to hands-on scientific exploration. Speaking at the program, Education Minister Dr. Jasu Jala emphasized that science is not a luxury subject but a survival skill, a development strategy, and a direct pathway to national development.
No nation becomes prosperous by accident. It becomes prosperous when its children are taught not just what to think, but how to learn to think, to solve problems, to connect knowledge to the world outside the classroom. That is the fundamental work of science. For a nation like ours, with our history and our aspirations, science is not a luxury subject. It is a survival skill.
Dr. Jara noted that no nation becomes prosperous by accident, but teaching them how to think, solve problems, and connect knowledge to the world outside the classroom. She highlighted that for generations, Liberian students have been forced to memorize diagrams and definitions without ever experiencing practical experiments, while teachers have persevered with little more than chalk and hopes. Meanwhile, Montreal County District 1 Education Officer Amanda Zota has described the new initiative as a gateway to equity learning. Madam Zota emphasized that the project is more than a tool, it is designed to inspire and empower students regardless of their status. She highlighted the significance of the innovation as a vision brought to life under the leadership of Education Minister Jaso Jala. Madam Zota said the minister's commitment to equity ensures science is not a privilege for a few, but right for all learners. Labour Minister Councillor Cooper Grass says the ministry has the statutory mandate to regulate the labour sector. Mr. Grass says such regulation is done through the development and implementation of policy for adherence to the Decent Work Act of 2015 and other international conventions. He said the National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights reinforces the country's duty to promote and protect those under its jurisdiction from business-related human rights abuses. In remarks, Deputy Justice Minister for Administration and Public Safety, Councillor Cora Konoa, said Liberia stands ready to advance responsible conduct as foundation for sustainable development and economic transformation. Councillor Konowa said the launch and implementation of the National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights symbolizes government's resolve to ensure investment contributes positively to national prosperity and safeguard the rights of every citizen. A 43-year-old Nigerian businessman is undergoing police investigation for allegedly trading about $1,200,000 Liberian dollars in counterfeit in Grangida County. Grangida County Police Chief for Operations Archie Dennis told our correspondent suspect Chiduke Ngu was arrested following a tip-off. When asked by our correspondent, suspect Ngu said he had no idea that the money was counterfeit. He noted that the money was given to him by another Nigerian businessman only identified as Gordon during a business transaction in Monrovia. A, land, a Liberian land investigator, Paul Talbot, is recommending a survey of public and government lands to address looming land crisis in the country. Under the land right law, public land is a land owned by the government but can be sold to private individuals or institutions. Government land, also a land owned by government that already has a government institution built on it. In an interview on the Super Morning Show Thursday, Mr. Thomas said deemed public and government lands will address crises between government or public institutors and private citizens.
Most government land, most government land, just most of the land you have government schools and build and hospitals and even some ministries. I mean, if some ministry, you'll be surprised to know that some people government ministries intimidated the whole powerful. You don't even have to deal with that.
The Liberia Land Expert also disclosed that records from the Liberia Land Authority show that private land accounts for the highest number of land crashes in Liberia. And a Liberian author, Shelton Gonkawon, is expected to launch his new book titled Dark Freedom in Monrovia. According to Mr. Gongawon, the launch will take place Friday, November 21 at the YMCA building. The launch of Dark Freedom is expected to add significantly to the national conversation about identity, memory, and human spirit. The book, according to release, demonstrates storytelling capable of shaping narratives that reflect Liberia's struggles, beauty, resilience, and hope.
Project Tiwia will return later with our international development here on Newsline. In one of the top stories we're telling you this afternoon, the National AIDS Commission says over 36,000 persons are living with HIV and AIDS in Liberia. But first, though, the drafting of Liberia's 2024 annual economic review has commenced in Ganta Nimba County. It is aimed at assessing the country's economic performance in agriculture, infrastructure, energy, and health, among others. Assistant Finance Minister for Macroeconomic Policy Henry Yankwe told ELBC Thursday that the document, when drafted, will be presented to stakeholders for imports.
The reason why we are even having a linear writing 2024